Welcome back to CelebReel, where the stories hit harder and the truth never stays buried for long. And today's topic? This one feels like the moment right before a storm breaks, the kind of tension you can feel in the air. For years, the music industry has moved under a set of unspoken rules, a quiet hierarchy, with Beyonce and Jay-Z sitting at the very top. The Carters became more than artists. They became an empire. Power, influence, control, their reach goes way beyond sold-out tours and chart-topping albums. But now a new voice is stepping up, loud enough to shake the crown. Nicki Minaj, bold, fearless, and refusing to play quiet, is challenging the dynasty itself. This isn't a simple feud. This feels like a rebellion against an entire empire. Picture a golden cage. Shiny, beautiful, glamorous, but still a cage. That's what the industry becomes under the Carters' watch. You can succeed, you can rise, you can make millions, but only if you follow the rules, protect the image, and never step out of line.
I find out that this was trying to sacrifice my son. Everybody keeps coming for my child, and now this witch says she's gonna sacrifice him to her voodoo idols.
Nicki Minaj has never been the type to stay silent. She's always been a disruptor, a storm in motion, and this time she isn't just stirring the pot, she's threatening to flip the table completely. And the first shot she fired? It was small, almost hidden, a single word buried in her Twitter feed, camel. On the surface, it looked harmless, but in the darker corners of the internet, fans knew exactly what she meant. It hit like a warning shot, because in those circles, that word was seen as a direct insult aimed straight at Jay-Z. That single word, camel, was a coded message of disrespect that sent shockwaves through the industry. Why? Because in certain circles, that nickname has turned into slang for someone seen as power-hungry, controlling, and operating with a massive ego. A label whispered behind closed doors about people accused of abusing their influence. But Nicki wasn't done. Not even close. After the tweet came a string of bold statements and sharp accusations, painting Jay-Z as a spiteful gatekeeper, a behind-the-scenes puppet master who allegedly uses his connections to control outcomes, block opportunities, and keep his grip tight on the industry.
So apparently, Beyonce is being accused again of doing black magic. Now here's what I'm gonna say. Everybody ain't lying. I spent probably a week doing research on all the people that they were connected with, and all of them are connected to some sort of black magic, some sort of witchery, okay?
Nicki went straight for the pressure point. She claimed Jay-Z stopped Lil Wayne from performing at the Super Bowl. Not because of talent, but because of old grudges. That accusation hit the industry like a bomb. And the timing made it even messier, because through Roc Nation, Jay-Z has huge influence over the NFL and the artists chosen for halftime shows. Suggesting he used that position to settle personal scores? That was a massive allegation, one that shook up conversations about power, image control, and the politics no one likes to talk about. Nicki wasn't just attacking his business moves. She was going after his character, his name, the very core of his legacy. And then she pushed things even further, stepping into territory most people never dare to touch. Instead of targeting Beyonce or her daughter, Nicki shifted the spotlight onto the way the internet treats the Carter family. The wild rumors, the invented narratives, and the conspiracy culture that follows them everywhere. She called out how people twist stories, create fake scandals, and drag innocent family members into online chaos just to get clicks. By highlighting those old, fabricated rumors, the kind that float around in the darkest corners of the internet. Nicki wasn't validating them. She was showing how deep fan obsession can go and how toxic the conversation becomes when power meets celebrity. Nicki didn't invent that messy rumor, but she did drag it back into the spotlight, forcing the world to revisit a narrative the Carters have spent years refusing to entertain. It was a risky move, almost like declaring war on one of the most powerful dynasties in music. A move loud enough to shake the whole industry. The internet went wild. A fringe conspiracy that most people had rolled their eyes at suddenly shot back into trending lists worldwide. think pieces started popping up, timelines flooded with speculation, and even though the rumor itself wasn't taken seriously by many, the fact that Nicki amplified it made people look closer at the Carters' carefully polished image. And what did the Carters do? They stayed silent, as usual. Silence has always been their armor, their strategy, their favorite weapon. But this time, the silence felt heavier, almost fragile, like people were waiting for a crack to show. Then other voices started emerging from the shadows. Foxy Brown, a hip-hop legend with a long, tangled history with Jay-Z, dropped a cryptic message. "AMF alive could stop my story." That one line lit the internet up like a match. The message sounded like someone who knew way more than she was willing to say publicly. Online, people dug up old whispers about NDAs and heavy pressure used to keep certain stories buried. Nothing confirmed, but enough to make the conversation explode again. Then Carmen Bryan, Naz's ex, resurfaced old drama by confirming her past affair with Jay-Z during the early days of Beyonce's solo rise. She said the situation went way deeper than the public ever knew, and fans immediately ran to connect dots, building their own timeline of betrayal and hidden chapters. But Nicki's attack wasn't just about reviving old rumors, she was coming for the power structure itself. She started calling out Jay-Z's legal team for allegedly using aggressive tactics to shut down lawsuits, including one tied to a man named Rymir Satterthwaite, who claims Jay-Z is his father. Nicki framed it as a pattern, a powerhouse using influence, legal pressure, and silence to control the narrative and protect his empire. And suddenly, this wasn't just celebrity gossip anymore. It was a full-blown takeover attempt, Nicki challenging the throne head-on. For more than a decade, Rymir has been fighting for acknowledgement. Not money, not fame, just clarity. Yet, he claims Jay-Z has avoided every attempt at a proper test, using sealed filings and legal technicalities to keep the situation locked down tight. The phrase "dismissed with prejudice" kept popping up, almost like a warning sign. This is how the Carters make problems disappear. That same phrase has surfaced in other cases tied to Jay-Z over the years. Situations that suddenly went quiet, wrapped up before the public ever saw the inside story. No open hearings, no real explanations, just silence and closed doors. And that silence is exactly why Nicki's accusations hit so hard. Her words tapped into a long-standing belief held by fans and industry insiders, that the Carters sit on a level of power most people can't even imagine. Power that protects their empire, shapes the narrative, and shuts down anything that might threaten the brand. To her supporters, Nicki wasn't just ranting. She was the bold one calling out a giant. And the whole industry felt the tension. Artists, executives, media outlets, everyone tiptoed around the situation like the floor was made of glass. Because whether you love them or not, the Carters' reach is wide, and crossing them has real consequences in the business. Even Stephen A. Smith, a man who never bites his tongue, caught heat after defending Jay-Z. Nicki snapped back instantly, mocking his image and calling him a pawn in a bigger game. Then her husband, Kenneth Petty, jumped in too, tossing out the same camel insult that restarted this whole firestorm. At that point, this wasn't a simple feud anymore. It was a straight-up narrative war, a battle for control of the storyline itself. On one side, you've got the Carters, masters of silence, experts in image, and relentless when it comes to protecting their empire. On the other side, you've got Nicki Minaj, unpredictable, loud, fearless, and determined to expose what she believes is the hidden machinery of the music world. The stakes were sky high, and nobody knew how this would end. But one thing was undeniable. The whole game had changed. The silence coming from the Carter camp was loud, calculated, and only made Nicki's voice ring even stronger. And suddenly, cracks began to show in a fortress everyone once believed was impossible to break. Birdman and Juvenile, two legends with real weight in hip-hop, publicly stood with Nicki. This wasn't some quick, petty beef. It started looking like a real movement, a rebellion rising from inside the culture itself. The old guard was tired tired of gatekeeping, tired of watching the same power circle control the spotlight, tired of feeling overshadowed by the Carter machine. And when they backed Nicki, it was a message. This fight was bigger than her. Their support made it clear. This wasn't just Nicki's battle anymore. It was about the identity of hip-hop itself. Then another twist hit the internet. The name Letitia resurfaced, tied to long-running claims from a woman saying she had a personal connection to Jay-Z's past. Online chatter claimed she lived in a home financially supported by people connected to him, with restrictions around privacy. Nothing was confirmed, nothing legally established, but the details were strange enough to spark even more conversation. To many fans, it felt like a peek into just how tightly controlled the Carter image has always been. Because the Carters didn't just build an empire, they built a filter, a system that decides who gets the spotlight and who gets pushed to the side. And that's why the Super Bowl became such a flashpoint. Lil Wayne, a legend, a pioneer, a top-tier artist, admitted that being rejected for the halftime stage hit him hard. Those words sat heavy, reminding everyone that behind the glitz and branding, there are real people dealing with real emotional fallout. So the question turned louder. Is the Super Bowl stage picked by talent or by loyalty? Fans felt the answer creeping into view. Nicki wasn't just talking business anymore. She was calling out betrayal, calling out the emotional weight of being pushed out by the most powerful couple in music. She was speaking for every artist who ever felt frozen out of opportunities they deserved. And the industry felt every word. What happens when the Carters decide your relevance has expired? When your name quietly disappears from playlists, events, and collaborations overnight? People say it's not coincidence. It's control. Even Tidal, the artist-owned platform the Carters championed, became a whole different battlefield. Nicki, who loudly supported the platform at launch, allegedly watched her promised equity fade into thin air once the big money started moving. Suddenly, there were buried contracts, confusing legal language, and technical rights transfers that somehow left Beyonce and Jay-Z fully protected. To a lot of fans, it looked like the same playbook they've been accused of using in much bigger situations. Remember Rymir's fight for acknowledgement? His team claimed Jay-Z's lawyers argued he didn't own property in New Jersey to dodge the case. Then, years later, documents surfaced suggesting otherwise. By that time, the case was already done. It wasn't just legal defense. It felt like legal warfare. Then Foxy Brown stepped back into the conversation with another one of her cryptic messages. AMF alive could stop my story. She didn't confirm anything. She didn't deny anything. But she reminded the world that behind every sealed file and redacted page, there are stories that still breathe. Silence doesn't always equal peace. Sometimes it equals pressure. And that pressure has followed people close to the Carters for years. Kelly Rowland, Beyonce's childhood friend, bandmate, and sister in Everything But Blood, became a symbol of that quiet tension. Cameras caught her leaving a dinner in tears back in 2013. No context, no statements, just photos of Kelly crying outside a quiet restaurant, while Beyonce and Jay-Z were nowhere in sight. Fast forward to 2020, and suddenly she's smiling in Ivy Park promo pics, wearing Beyonce's Adidas collab like nothing ever happened. Was that loyalty, or was it obligation? Was she supporting a friend, or maintaining an alliance that's bigger than personal feelings? Chloe Bailey, Megan Thee Stallion, even Lizzo, all of them seemed supported by Beyonce, but only when they stayed perfectly in line. It looked like unity, until you realized the pattern. Support flowed to the ones who never challenged the system. And that's not real solidarity. That's control dressed up as friendship. Then the Grammys became Jay-Z's stage for quiet power moves. With his signature calm tone, he said, "Most Grammys, but never Album of the Year. That doesn't work." No yelling, no chaos, just icy precision. Meanwhile, Nicki came at the machine with raw emotion, fire, and pure frustration. Her passion was real, but her delivery didn't have Jay-Z's calculated calm. She was burning bridges while calling out everyone tied to the throne. And maybe that's because she finally realized what happens to the ones who stay polite, the ones who smile through betrayal, wear Ivy Park with tears still drying, and trade honesty for access. For all of Nicki's chaos, the Carter silence was even more dangerous. It worked. Every time a scandal heated up, it disappeared. Every time a name started trending, it got buried. Anyone who spoke out just seemed to fade away. Now I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think Nicki was brave for calling all this out? Or was she stepping into a fight she could never win? Drop your take in the comments. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next drop. See you in the next one.